Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, FSN Prime Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the St. Louis Cardinals. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday night to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Birds, and for the Dodgers, things have been for the Birds, losing 7 out of 8 on the road trip and now coming home trying to get well. The Dodgers, as bad as they are on the road, are very tough at home. They're 10 games above 500. And if anything, they can look at the Cardinals and figure it's about time we return the favor. The Cardinals beat them 4 straight in St. Louis. Last time that happened was 1987. But for that matter, for the last 3 years, the Cardinals have pushed the Dodgers around, winning 13 of 17. So tonight, the Dodgers lead with their best. Their all-star right-hander, Brad Penny, he'll go up against Jeff Suppan. In fact, looking at the 3 starting pitchers for the Cardinals, Suppan, Reyes, and Weaver, they all live in Southern California. We'll get to the ball game right after this. Very pleasant Friday night to you, wherever you may be. The Dodgers delighted to be home after a terrible road trip and at Dodger Stadium, where they are 28-18, going up against a ball club that has given them a bad time for the last several years. For the brief moment, the youngsters getting autographs from the big guys, and we're just a minute away from getting business underway. For Tony La Russa, he brings a ball club in that has won 5 of the last 7 since the break. They've also won 8 of the last 10. They're trying to get above 500 on the road. They haven't been above since the 23rd of June, but they're right at that mark right now. They come in with a 4-game lead against Cincinnati, and they have done their damage at home. They're 12 games above 500 at home. Here come the Birds with David Eckstein at short, Chris Duncan in left, the great Albert Pujols at first, Scott Rowland at third. Jim Edmonds in center. Juan Encarnacion has spent a little time playing for the Dodgers. He's in right. Yadier Molina behind the plate. Aaron Miles at second base. And local boy Jeff Suppan on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, their all-star right-hander Brad Penny, who comes in with a record of 10-3. Cardinals beat him last Sunday in St. Louis, so he was anxious to get another shot, and his time has arrived. Last Sunday, he was roughed up for 6 runs and 10 hits, the 6 runs being a season high. So the Dodgers, who scored only 6 runs in the 4 games in St. Louis, and that was really a shocker. In fact, you have to go back to 1904 for a Dodger ball club that scored fewer runs than 6 in a 4-game series against the Cardinals. Way back in 1904, that Dodger ball club scored only 3. So the defense could figure prominently in the series, and here's the Dodgers with the leather. Garcia, Parra, and Ibar. For Call and Torres, the brand-new daddy has returned to the wars at third. Ethier, Lofton, and Drew in the outfield. Russell Martin, sore wrist and all, is still behind the plate. And on the mound, Brad Penny. David Eckstein, the smallest shortstop at the plate, and Brad Penny's first pitch is high, ball 1, 1-0. David Eckstein checking in at .311 with a home run, 19 runs batted in. He's a fellow who makes contact, but he did strike out 3 times the other day, but only 33 times all year, and he takes high and a 2-ball, no-strike count. One of the things about the Cardinals, you have David Eckstein and Aaron Miles. Eckstein is 5'7", and Miles is 5'8". That's a small double play combination that we've had in the league in about 14 years. The next pitch in for a strike, and the count 2-1. If you remember, Atlanta had 5'9" Mark Lemke and 5'6" Rafael Belliard up the middle. That was in 1992. So they have 2 mighty men around the bag for St. Louis, and Eckstein fouls it away. Just to go back, Eckstein following in the footsteps, the shortest double play combination in combined height was shortstop Harry Chappis, who was 5'3", second baseman Joe Gates, 5'7". They were with the Chicago White Sox. 2-2 pitch. Eckstein is hit in the air to right center, slicing a bit, and it'll be picked off by J.D. Drew. So Eckstein, a fly ball to right center, one away, and the batter will be Chris Duncan. So Eckstein back to the dugout. Chris Duncan, whose dad is the pitching coach, a very famous pitching coach for the St. Louis Cardinals, Dave Duncan. And Chris doing well. In the number slew spot, he is doing exceptionally well. Overall batting average 312, and he's hitting about 330 in the number 2 spot. And he takes high, ball 1-0. So Chris Duncan followed by the great Albert Pujols. Duncan, left-hand batter. Into the windup goes Penny, and his 1-0 pitch is off the plate. Ball 2, and the count 2-0. So Albert Pujols tuning up, loosening up, and waiting. And he has worn out Penny in the past. Now the 2-0 pitch on the way to Duncan, swung on and fouled away. Duncan has a little 4-game hitting streak. He has hits in 5 of his last 6 games. And last Sunday, Chris was 3 for 4 and scored 3 times against the Dodgers involving Brad Penny. Now the 2-1 pitch to Chris Duncan is swung on and fouled away. So Duncan making Penny work in the heat. One thing about tonight, it might be very hot, but at least we don't have a breeze. I mean, it is a summer's night in Los Angeles, and the one good thing about baseball, get your mind off the weather. So Chris waiting at the plate, crowd of upwards of 45,000 or thereabouts, and the 2-2 pitch coming up. Penny ready and deals, breaking ball, and that's fouled off. So Chris Duncan, a formidable sight up there at the plate. He's 6'5", checks in at 210. He was a number 1 pick by the Cardinals. Born in Tucson and still lives there. And the 2-2 pitch on the way. Breaking ball fouled away. When the Cardinals lost Delino DeShields to free agency, Chris was the Cardinals' compensation pick. And he passed up a scholarship to go to Arizona to sign with the Cardinals in June about 7 years ago. Now the 2-2 pitch to Duncan. Fastball, but it's high on a check swing. No swing, says Bill Miller. And 3-2 the count to Chris Duncan. Chris, 25 years old. Left-hand batter waiting. Good size for a first baseman, but he plays left field. And the 3-2 pitch, Duncan fouls it off again. So Chris wearing him out. Might be a first baseman on any other team, but not when Albert Pujols holding down the job. So far, 8 pitches this at bat, and Duncan a tough man for Penny to put away. 3-2 the count. Brad into the windup, and the 3-2 fastball swung on and missed. That might have been out of the strike zone, and Duncan chases it and strikes out. So it took some doing to do, but Penny working down and away, and sure enough, he missed the zone, but it was still strike 3. And now here comes Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols is such a good player that historians are dusting off the name of a great player by the name of Joe Medwick. Joe Medwick had the nickname Ducky, and at one time Joe played briefly with the Brooklyn Dodgers, but he was better known as a Cardinal. Pujols takes high, ball 1-0. Well, the question is, can Albert Pujols do what Ducky Medwick did? It was 1937 when Medwick won the Triple Crown. We haven't had anybody in the National League do it since. The 1-0 pitch, Pujols hits it foul out of play, and the count 1-1. Albert is hitting .327. He has 31 home runs, and he has 83 runs batted in. And as I'm sure you know, in order to win the Triple Crown, you got to wind up first in all 3 of those categories. Well, right now, he is 21 points, make it 31 points, behind Freddie Sanchez in batting. The 1-1 pitch, and Pujols straightens up on a pitch inside. Albert is tied with Ryan Howard in home runs, and he is 3 RBIs behind Andrew Jones. But even that he is a possibility of winning a Triple Crown shows you what kind of a player he is. He's hitting .406 in the month of July. 2-1 pitch on the way to Albert Pujols. Penny's fastball foul back out of play. And that fastball was fast. It was gunned at 97. Of course, when you talk about a batting title, Albert Pujols has already done that. He won the batting championship 3 years ago. Everybody remembered number 5 when he hit .359. He also leads the majors in 17 game-winning RBIs, so he's really something. 2-2 pitch to Pujols off the plate, ball 3. Pujols had the strained oblique on the side, the same thing that has made Jeff Kent sit down, and Pujols missed 15 games, then returned and went 4 for 4. Scott Rowland on deck. And the 3-2 pitch to Albert Pujols, a chopper up along third slowly. A tough play for his tourist. Makes it anyway. So the new daddy charging the slow hit ball throws out Albert Pujols. The Cardinals are gone in order. And at the end of half an inning, Cardinals nothing, Dodgers coming up. Bottom of the first inning, no score in the ball game. The Cardinals go 1-2-3. Penny made 20 pitches. Now the Dodger offense, what has disappeared of late, will now be put on display. Rafael Furcal and Kenny Lofton, J.D. Drew in right, Nomar at first, Andre Ethier in left, Willie Ibar at second, Cesar Izturis at third, Russell Martin behind the plate, Brad Penny on the mound. On the mound for the Cardinals, a local boy, although he was born in Oklahoma City. He makes his home in West Hills. Went to high school at Crespi Carmelite High School. Jeff Suppan. And his first pitch to Rafael Furcal, low and inside, ball 1. Jeff is 6'2" and 220. He is 32 years old. First came up with the Red Sox 11 years ago. He was a second-round pick by Boston back in 1993. The 1-0 pitch is swung on line to right. On the dead run is Encarnacion. Makes a dive and comes up with the ball. Juan Encarnacion taking a base hit away from Rafael Furcal. We had to wait for first base umpire Jerry Davis to get down the line to make the call. So Encarnacion, who played here at Dodger Stadium and certainly knows the territory, taking a base hit away from Furcal. And we have one down here in the first inning. The first Dodger to get aboard tonight will be greeted by a different first base coach. Mariano Duncan normally holding down that role, but instead the bench coach, Jave Joss, will take over for Mariano tonight and tomorrow night. Checking in at the plate is Kenny Lofton, and he looks at a strike. Mariano Duncan, by the way, suspended for 2 games for the hat incident in Phoenix, also fined some money. So here is Lofton batting .299. Suppan's breaking ball is lined to center, and that's in front of Edmonds for a base hit. So Jeff Suppan is a little fortunate. Otherwise, he could have given up back-to-back singles. And it brings up a disturbing point, certainly for Suppan, not to mention what it does to Tony La Russa. Jeff Suppan at home is marvelous. His earned run average at Busch Stadium is 3.2. You take him out on the road, and his earned run average is over 9. That's the largest differential amongst major league pitchers. So he'll try to get well on the road, but somewhat at home here in Los Angeles. Jeff at the belt, checking in is J.D. Drew, and he takes a strike, and the count 0-1. J.D., of course, played for the Cardinals and for Tony La Russa. He played with them for about 6 seasons. Jeff hitting .287, 9 home runs, 54 RBIs, had a 3-hit game last night. Suppan set at the belt, looks over at Lofton, comes back to Drew, and it's low. 1 ball and 1 strike. So Suppan very busy right now. He has to contend with Drew, who's hitting .353 against him, and he has to worry about Lofton, who is always ready to steal your wallet over there at first base. Kenny, as he takes his lead, has stolen 16 out of 17. 1-1 pitch is hit down the left field line, foul, and out of play. So 1-2 the count to J.D. Drew, who spent 4 games, I'm sure, shaking his head at the exploits of his younger brother Steven who was absolutely sparkling at shortstop and with the bat as well. So Lofton held on by Albert Pujols. Suppan leaning on his left knee to get a sign, hiding the ball back of his right hip. Drew waiting, and now Suppan straightens up. Jeff at the belt, and the 1-2 pitch, and it hits Drew on the right leg. And J.D. Drew is hurting with face down in the dirt. It might have gotten him on the side of the knee, and for J.D., a painful experience. Third time that he has been hit by a pitch this year. Of late, of course, especially with Arizona, the Dodgers starting to feel like pincushions. 34 Dodgers have been hit by the pitch so far this year. As far as Jeff Suppan is concerned, and that got Drew right on the right kneecap. For Suppan, that would be the sixth man that he's hit. So they are ministering to Drew, who is sitting up. Stan Johnson putting his hand very gingerly on the right knee. So J.D. Drew takes a mean one off the kneecap, trying to bend the leg. He can bend the left leg, and he's doing that, but the right leg is fully extended. And Stan Johnson trying to convince him to bend it, and you know it's got to be killing him. It was an 88-mile-an-hour pitch that nailed him. The only thing that could have made it worse, I guess, is if it was bitter cold. But not much help in the heat. So Jeff Suppan waiting to see about J.D. Drew. The Dodgers will have runners at first and second, one out in the first inning. And, of course, they can ill afford to lose Drew. Down in the Dodger dugout, Jose Cruz begins to stretch a little bit, move around in case J.D. Drew unable to answer the bell. So Drew is nailed by the pitch, and all we can do is wait. We can do a little bit more than wait and tell you that the Giants are leading San Diego 4-0 in the second inning. Up there, Omar Vizquel doubled in Steve Finley. Felice grounded out as Vizquel scored. And then Sweeney singled to right with Bonds and Durham scoring. And J.D. Drew looks like he's going to have to come out of the game. He is limping noticeably, trying to put all of his weight on the left leg because the right one's killing him. And it looks like Jose Cruz is going to have to take over in right field. In fact, J.D. hops down the steps on one leg, and he is hurting. Of all the places to get it, right on the kneecap, it just broke in. He tried to pull that right leg out of the way, and it got the knee, and down he went in a heap. So with Drew sidelined now with the bad knee, Cruz takes over at first base. Lofton advances to second.
First baseman,
Had it not been for that diving catch by Juan Encarnacion, Suppan would be in the soup, and he might very well still be, as J.D. Drew hobbles the length of the Dodger dugout, and it's taking him a while to make the trip. Nomar Garciaparra checks in. Nomar waiting. Suppan ready. Over the top, breaking ball lifted to right. Encarnacion in his tracks made the catch. He could have been standing at Grauman's Chinese and put his implant in as the ball was hit directly at him. 2 down. So Encarnacion has handled two. Dodgers have runners at first and second, and Andre Ethier coming up. So Nomar Garciaparra, who's really struggling, and the Dodgers are hoping he'll get well at home. After all, Nomar came into this game hitting .404 at Dodger Stadium. But as he does so often, he's a first ball fastball hitter, and he flied to right on the first pitch. Now Andre Ethier hitting .347, little 6-game hitting streak, takes a breaking ball inside, ball 1-0. Ethier is doing exceptionally well here at Dodger Stadium. He's hitting .414. He doesn't have enough plate appearances to get a call yet, but nevertheless, he's doing a super job. So 1 ball and no strikes. Andre hit .323 on the road trip, and he's up there now with 2 on, 2 out, no score, first inning. Suppan at the belt. Jeff deals, breaking ball, half swing, and that'll cost a strike, and a 1-1 count. So Ethier and Suppan, and for Jeff trying to get out of a jam. Among other things, when you talk to Jeff as a kid growing up in Southern California, his first job was a dishwasher. Later on, he was a stringer for the Daily News, did box scores and things like that. Ethier fouls it away in the count 1-2. So Andre Ethier with 2 down and a 1-2 count, facing Jeff Suppan, whose nickname, understandably, is Soup. Jeff looks down, getting his sign, now climbs up on top. Left-handers last year hit .271 against him. Right-handers hit .279, and he wound up 16-10, 116 the year before. The next one swung on and missed. Looked like a dying bird, and out in front of it was Andre Ethier. So no runs, 1 hit, 2 left, and the Dodgers lose Drew. And at the end of an inning, no score. Second inning, no score in the ball game. Jose Cruz, who ran for the injured J.D. Drew, takes over in right field for him. And into the second inning we go with Scott Rowland, Jim Edmonds, and then Juan Encarnacion. Scott Rowland, who is a very successful hitter, has had a great career, and has really sparkled at night. Penny into the windup and deals. The right-hand hitter takes a strike, and the count 0-1. His batting average at night is .329, and on the road he's hitting .363, so he's tough. The strike one pitch to Scotty is taken a little low. 1 ball, 1 strike. He's another big bird. He's 6'4" and 240. 31 years old, out of Jasper, Indiana, and originally a second-round pick by the Phillies back in '93. 1-1 pitch way off the plate, ball 2, and the count 2-1. So Brad Penny trying to balance his books. The Cardinals beat him earlier this year. He's 2-3 lifetime against St. Louis, and he comes in 10-3. Now the 2-1 pitch coming up. Brad ready, and his fastball is lifted back at first, angling over his eye bar, and can't make the play as he sprawls on the foul line. And safe at first, Scott Rowland. So Ibar coming over, playing a right-hand batter slightly up the middle, had a long run to the foul line and couldn't get it. So Rowland gets himself a little pop fly single into shallow right field, and the batter now will be Jim Edmonds. Jim Edmonds has 14 home runs. 7 of his home runs have been hit in the month of July. July has been a big month for Jim as far as home runs are concerned. He takes a strike. 67 of his career home runs have been hit in this month, so he's doubly dangerous now. Hitting .262, 55 runs batted in. Then he'll look over at first, back to Edmonds, a big swing and a miss, and the count 0-2 to Jim. He has 17 RBIs in the month to go along with his 7 home runs. He's hit in 15 of his last 18, and Edmonds hitting in the 260s against Brad Penny. The strike 2 pitch on the way to Jim, and the left-hand hitter hits it foul off third, down the line, and out of play. Jim Edmonds, 36 years old, born in Fullerton, lives in Yorba Linda, was drafted and picked by the Angels 18 years ago out of Diamond Bar High School. Jim 6'1", 215, left-handed all the way. No score, second inning. Rolling at first, nobody out. Penny out of his stretch. A look over there. Now back to Edmonds, crowds him and drives him off the plate. And the count runs 1-2. So Penny, who had a good play back of him on the ball hit by Pujols, could not get the good play by Ibar, and we'll see how the inning unravels as Edmonds swings and misses, and down he goes. So Jim Edmonds pays a price because he is a free swinger, and that would be the 63rd time he has struck out. That's high on the Cardinal club. And with 1 out, Juan Encarnacion coming up. So Encarnacion, who already made his presence known making that diving catch of the ball hit by Rafael Furcal. Played with the Dodgers 2 years ago with the Dodgers and the Marlins. Hitting .278, 12 home runs, 49 runs batted in. Rolling off the bag, and the pitch to Juan is high. Ball one, 1-0. Rollins steals, but not that much. He has stolen 6 out of 10. Encarnacion on a 1-ball, no strike count. Penny will look over at first. Roland does not move. A big chopper to his Turris. Down to second for one. Back to first, not in time. So the high bouncer to his Turris. It took a while for the ball to get to Cesar. And, of course, that allowed Encarnacion to beat the throw by Ibar, who backed off using the bag a little defensively, but he didn't have enough time. So the force play goes 5-4, and the batter now will be Yadier Molina with Encarnacion at first and with a big grin. He is a break-even base stealer, 3 for 6. Molina, right-hand batter, takes off the plate, ball one. 1-0 the Yadier, hitting .221, 3 home runs, 34 runs batted in. From Puerto Rico, still lives there, signed by the Cardinals as a free agent. The younger brothers of Ben and Jose. He swings, grounds well down to Furcal. He'll underhand it to Ibar, and that's that. So no runs, only a pop fly single and a man left. And at the end of an inning and a half, Brad Penny walks off, no score. Bottom of the second inning, no score in the ball game. The Dodgers and the Cardinals. Jeff Suppan working on Willie Ibar, Cesar Izturis, and then Russell Martin. Jeff's first pitch is on the inside corner for a strike. By the way, a note for the Jeff Suppan Marching and Chowder Society. When he struck out Andre Ethier, that gave him 1,000 strikeouts in his career. Ibar takes down and in, 1 ball and 1 strike. Willie Ibar, since called up, has played third and second. He's hitting .270, 3 home runs, 21 RBIs. First time he has played here at Dodger Stadium in a while. Takes off speed. 2-1 to count to Willie. Came up from Las Vegas Tuesday, replacing the injured Jeff Kent. Now the 2-1 pitch on the way, and Ibar drills it into right, but going over to flag it is Juan Encarnacion. So Ibar hits the ball hard, but right into Encarnacion's glove. 1 out. And the batter will be Cesar Izturis. So Cesar, the brand new daddy, he had a little son, Cesar Daniel Izturis, and his daughter named Daniela. Liliana is well, we understand, in recuperating. Cesar at her side for the last 4 days while the Dodgers were in Phoenix. And now Izturis checks in. Suppan works him down and away. Ball one, 1-0. Izturis hitting .333 against Suppan, hitting .281 overall. Into the windup goes Suppan. The next pitch is hit in the air to left field. Chris Duncan is right there, shy of the warning track to make the catch. And we have 2 down here in the second inning.
For the Dodgers, catcher, number 55, Russell Martin.
So Russell Martin is coming up. Martin has a very sore right wrist. He was hit on the heel and the wrist of the right hand. And even though he played in Arizona, we had a couple of shots of him sitting in the dugout, and he had the bat in his hands, and he kept trying to strengthen the wrist. But he's playing tough, which is exactly what he is. Martin hitting .287. Suppan starts him, fastball at the knees for a strike, and the count 0-1. No score, bottom of the second inning. First game of 3 with the Cardinals, and the strike one pitch is sliced down the right field line back into the stands, and the count 0-2. Up north, we told you the Giants leading San Diego 4-0 in the third inning. Giants pounded the Padres, and because they won last night's game, they're on the heels of San Diego now, 1.5 games back. Giants have won 3 straight. Ground foul outside of third, and the count stays 0-2. If there is any consolation to a ball club that lost 7 of the last 8 games, it's the fact for the Dodgers and for Grady Little. They lost one game in the standings. So they're 3.5 back. They've lost 2 straight, 8 out of 10. And Rafael Furcal and Kenny Lofton and the rest of them know that even through the bad times, they're still very much in the thick of things. Here's the strike 2 pitch on the way. Off speed, a comebacker. And not much swing on that by Russell Martin. Down he goes. And the Dodgers are done in the second inning. So at the end of 2, each side with just 1 hit, no score in the ballgame. No score in the ball game. The Dodgers and Cardinals, their 5th meeting of the year. The Cardinals won all 4 in St. Louis. Cardinals over the last 3 years have beaten the Dodgers 13 out of 17, and they have worn them out, beat them 5 out of 7 last year. So Penny going up against a tough club, and Aaron Miles will lead it off. And Miles takes a strike, and they count 0-1. Aaron 5'8", as we mentioned earlier. David Eckstein 5'7". You have to go back to Lemke and Belliard to find 2 fellas, the double play combination. Miles takes another one low. 1 ball, 1 strike. We also mentioned the shortstop, who was indeed short, Harry Chappis, who was only 5'3". And we should drop the other shoe. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Ground ball wide of first. Backhanded by Nomar, and he takes it to the bag, 1 away. The manager of the ball club with Harry Chappis at 5'3" playing shortstop, sure, Tony La Russa. All right, we have 1 away here in the 3rd inning, and Jeff Suppan coming up. So Suppan checks in. He has 5 hits, 3 RBIs, only has struck out about 20% of the time, so he's pretty handy with the bat. Then he's fastball in there for a strike. And the count 0-1. So Suppan trying to help himself with 1 out, bases empty, 3rd inning, no score. Penny ready and comes back 0-1, and that's fouled off to the right out of play. And the count 0-2 to Jeff Suppan. Mentioned earlier that he has really struggled on the road, but when he comes to Los Angeles, he's really back in his own neck of the woods again. Here's the strike 2 pitch coming up. And Brad Penny over the top, fastball hit down the right field line, foul. Interesting idea. The pitchers for St. Louis in the series, Jeff Suppan tonight, Anthony Reyes tomorrow night, Jeff Weaver on Sunday afternoon, and all 3 Cardinal pitchers live in Southern California. So they might be on the road, but they're kind of at home when they're here. And of course for Jeff, certainly no stranger at Dodger Stadium. All right, 0-2 the count to Suppan. Lofton a little shallow in center and shading a bit to right center. Ground ball slowly to short. For a call in no hurry to throw him out. And we have 2 down here in the 3rd inning. The Cardinals come into this game in first place, 4 games in front of Cincinnati. They are accustomed to being out in front. In 2004, the Cardinals on this date were 10 games in front, and last year at this stage they were 12 games in front. But they've had their struggles. You know, the Cardinals, among other things, had an 8-game losing streak as Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan look on. So Tony knows both sides of the coin. And here now is David Eckstein, and the shortstop takes a strike. Struck out 30 times throughout the year and then went down 3 times the other night. And boy, the other night with Atlanta had to be a nightmare for the Cardinals and the people in St. Louis. Ground ball to Furcal. He should take care of it, and that's it. They were hit by 90 mile an hour, blew out windows, blew out electricity for about 500,000 people. It was awful. At the end of 2.5 innings, Dodgers and Cardinals, no score. No score, bottom of the 3rd inning, and Jeff Suppan pitching to Brad Penny, Rafael Furcal, and Kenny Lofton. Penny hitting .231 and has been a good hitting pitcher. Backs off on a pitch away, ball 1. We talked about Suppan's 1,000th strikeout. Another milestone tonight occurred up in San Francisco, where Mike Piazza got a double, and that was his 2,000th base hit. His 1,999th hit was, appropriately enough, a home run. The Piazza with 2,000 hits now. And, of course, he'll be here after this series. Padres coming here. Giants are all over them. 5-0 Giants, 4th inning. Penny, a bouncer to third. Up with it there is Rowland. Takes care of it before Brad is halfway down the line. 1 away. If you joined us late, J.D. Drew was hit on the kneecap by a Jeff Suppan pitch and had to leave the game. Well, Jose Cruz is in his stead. In San Francisco, Barry Bonds' first at-bat, he was hit on the left knee by Jake Peavy. And then when he came up in his second at-bat in the bottom of the third, Bonds had a base hit to right field, limped to first base, and was removed from the game. So Drew out for the Dodgers, Bonds done for the Giants, and with 1 out, here's the leadoff man for call. And Rafael takes inside, ball 1, 1-0. Jeff Suppan, going back to his younger days, he was apparently very, very demonstrative on the mound. Well, you know, a typical little leaguer. But his sister, a former volleyball player at Cal State Northridge, she's about 10 years older, and she was the one who started to instruct young Jeff about the mental attitude and cutting down on that demonstrative approach. Then other members of the family did it, and he eventually matured, and he's a solid pitcher. For call, takes off the plate, and it's a 3-0 count. So 1 out, 3rd inning, no score. Kenny Lofton in the on-deck circle, and for call waiting 3-0. Suppan into his windup, and Jeff's 3-0 fastball is low, ball 4. So a 1-out walk to Rafael for call. The Dodger running game for call and Lofton, and they're back-to-back. Lofton has stolen 16 out of 17, and for call has stolen 23 out of 31. So Rafael held on by Albert Pujols, and here is Kenny Lofton batting .302 with 20 runs batted in. He had a base hit in the first inning. He has always done well against the Cardinals, 50 hits in 39 games. So Kenny checks in, and we'll see what a very good base stealer does with a very good base stealer up there ahead of him at first base. And the first pitch to Lofton, he takes, and it's outside, ball 1, 1-0. So the big guess now, is Lofton going to take a pitch or two to see if Furcal tries to steal? Dave Joss over to read the diamond across to Rich Donnelly. 1 ball and no strikes. Lofton waiting, Suppan at the belt. And the next pitch is low. Pretty good bluff by Rafael Furcal. And now Yadier Molina going out to talk to his pitcher. And timeout. 2-0 the count. Rich Donnelly perhaps wigwagging a sign or two to Kenny Lofton. So Yadier Molina out there talking to his pitcher. Molina, in looking up, has thrown out 42% of opposing base stealers. His career, he has thrown out 50%. That is remarkable. So Molina behind the plate, Suppan said, looks over at first, no running there. The pitch to Lofton, a strike, and the count goes to 2-1. Lofton mentioning wow, perhaps the way that pitch just suddenly dropped. 2-1 to Kenny. Here's Turris back in the lineup tonight, hitting 7th. So the Dodgers have their speed up at the top for Call and Lofton. And Suppan trying to keep an eye on Rafael Furcal. Remember, the Dodgers in 4 games in St. Louis could score only a total of 6 runs. So they have really got to improve, and especially now that they're home. 2-1 pitch. Lofton hits it down the left field line, going in the corner and lands foul. Skips up into the crowd, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. So Kenny Lofton just trying to put the bat on the ball and not try to pull it, and just missed an extra base hit. Meanwhile, Tony La Russa, who has made a lot of contributions to this game of baseball, but certainly the one I think most of us would agree He was the one who began the idea of a closer. And it was back in 1988, a great year for the Dodgers. But that was the year then Tony La Russa started to use Dennis Eckersley strictly as a ninth-inning closer. Oh, there had been other guys who came in to save a game, but they usually pitched a couple of innings. But La Russa said, no, if I have to start a pitching staff from scratch, I will start with a closer and work my way all the way to the starting pitching. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Kenny Lofton. Instead, a throw to first for a call back on the bag. The closer for the St. Louis Cardinals is Jason Isringhausen. He's already saved 26. 2 balls and 2 strikes, the count. A long look in by Jeff Suppan. No score here in the third. A look over at first for call goes. The pitch outside. Oh, what a throw to get him at second base. Though we told you how good Molina is, and he just continues to shoot him down. So for call is thrown out 2-6 from Molina to Eckstein. And I mean, Yadier had him easily. So all Eckstein had to do was hold on to the throw, and for call had to just slide into the bag. But every time I see a base runner go head first, I cringe. I mean to tell you, what a risk that is. So now 2 out, bases empty, and the 3-2 pitch to Kenny Lofton is pulled on the ground to first, backhanded by Albert, who feeds Suppan, and that's that. So no runs, no hits, thanks to Molina. It turns out to be a 1-2-3 inning, and at the end of 3, no score. Tonight's Aflac trivia question. Ex-Cardinal Bob Gibson once held the National League record for strikeouts, 3,117 of them. Which 3 pitchers have surpassed Gibson's total? Think about some fireballers. Brad Penny goes to work in the 4th. Chris Duncan, Albert Pujols, and Scott Rowland. Ball 1, 1-0 to Chris. His dad served in the U.S. Marines training program back in the 60s. The 1-0 pitch. 2-0. And a towering drive to right field, and that should go. It is a way back and gone. For Chris Duncan at 6'5" and 210, he got all of it. His 5th home run of the year, and the Cardinals first to get on the board, leading 1-0. For Brad Penny, that would be the 8th home run that he has given up. And let's see Dad Dave down in the dugout. Well, his father leading the cheers in the dugout as he gets in there. And I mean to tell you, did he ever crush that thing? A mile high, going way back in the Cardinal bullpen. And the batter now, Albert Pujols, who fouls it off. So Big Chris hits 1 out, and the Cardinals lead 1-0. Pujols hitting .326. 1-1 to count. Pujols has just worn out Brad Penny. He has hit .440 against Brad, including a home run and a half a dozen runs batted in. Breaking ball, and that slice to center. Boy, what English on that. And Lofton was able to stay with it. That ball left home plate, and it looked like it was going to start to slice towards right center. Then it veered back, and Lofton did a little bobbing and weaving, and I'm sure he's saying wow to himself out there. Kenny starting to his left, and whoops, it's coming back the other way. 1 out. So now Scott Rowland. And a high fly ball to shallow right center. Lofton should take care of it. It's always a great moment as Chris Duncan hits the home run, and Dad right there on the left to greet him as he came into the dugout. That's my boy. Chris gives the Cardinals a 1-0 lead. For Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa, a sweet moment. 1 run, 2 hits for the Cardinals. No runs, 1 hit for the Dodgers. Edmonds with that graceful fly open swing of his struck out in the second inning. Jim, a remarkable athlete, and boy, what a defensive center fielder. He made several magnificent catches during the Dodger series in St. Louis, notably a great running catch on a ball hit by Andre Ethier in left center, and well-deserving with 8 Gold Gloves. 1 ball, 1 strike. Foul back. They were showing the fact that Willie Mays had 12 Gold Gloves. And you know, Willie Mays was always famous for the basket catch, catching it right at the belt buckle. Roberto Clemente used to do that. And I used to think, well, they're the 2 fellas who invented the basket catch. But that's not true. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Foul back. There's a wonderful book out called Clemente, written by David Moranis, who also wrote the great book on Vince Lombardi. But in that book, Moranis finds out that an outfielder named Luis Olmo, O-L-M-O, who at one time played with the Brooklyn Dodgers, it was Olmo who invented the basket catch. Of course, Willie Mays really made it famous because he's a Hall of Famer. But Olmo was the guy who started it. 1-2 the count to Jim Edmonds. 1-0 St. Louis in the 4th. Fastball, and that's whacked to right. Cruz on the run, a sliding attempt, but he bobbles the ball. Edmonds will hold on with a sinker to right field. So Jim Edmonds, a sinking line drive base hit to right. Cruz unable to make the play. Jose trapping it on a bounce. So with Edmonds at first and 2 down, Juan Encarnacion coming up. Edmonds doesn't steal a lot, but at the same time, you better keep an eye on him. He's 4 for 4. Encarnacion, who was traded from the Dodgers to the Marlins to get Penny here, and now they go up against each other. Encarnacion hit into a force play in the second inning. Very nice, soft-spoken guy. Encarnacion signed a 3-year deal with the Cardinals in December of last year. Encarnacion and Odalis Perez were born about 15 months apart, and they grew up across the street from each other in Pueblo Nuevo. Their fathers are farmers, and their moms were very close friends in the small town in the Dominican Republic. Encarnacion says he didn't even play baseball until he was 14 years old, and he was a pitcher then. And 2 years later, he was signed by the Tigers, so he had to be very impressive. He does have a great arm. 2-1. Ball 3, 3-1. While we were on the subject a moment ago about Clemente, talking to Manny Mota, who spent years as a teammate of Roberto's, Clemente did something that I'd never heard of any other player doing. You know how he warmed up, and he had a magnificent arm, as good an arm as any right fielder who ever played the game. But Clemente threw underhand all the time he warmed up. And then when he was ready, he'd go out there and throw darts overhand. But like all the great players, and it's a wonderful lesson for the kids, Clemente was great, but he worked at being great. In fact, Clemente had trouble with a ball one time in Forbes Field coming off the wall. And the next night, he asked Mota, there's ball 4, he said to Manny, tomorrow I want you to come to the park early with a basket full of balls. And Manny said, hey, wait a minute. I'm not a coach. I'm a player. Clemente said, never mind. Come anyway. So the next day, Manny Mota came to the ballpark with a bag full of balls and a bat. And Clemente said to him, I'm going to go out into right field, and I want you to keep hitting balls into that right field corner. And so Manny said he hit about, 40 balls into the right field corner. Clemente played one after the other. At the end of the 40, Roberto came in and said, okay, now I know what to do. So, yeah, they're great. But a lot of them work at being great, and Clemente was certainly a #1 example. All right, 2 on, 2 out, 1-0 Cardinals, and here's Yadier Molina. And a hopper to second base, Ibar's on it, and that's that. But it's a run for Chris Duncan. Hits a home run 431 feet into the back of the bird's nest in right field. And at the end of 3.5, Cardinals 1, Dodgers nothing. Remember our Aflac question about Bob Gibson holding the record with 3,117 strikeouts, and which 3 pitchers have surpassed his total? Steve Carlton, 4,000. Tom Seaver, 3,200. Greg Maddux, 3,100 and counting. Bottom of the 4th, 1-0 St. Louis. Jose Cruz. Off speed, ball 1. Cruz hitting less than 200 against Suppan, and of course hitting less than 200 batting left-handed all year, hitting 191 from this side. 2-0 to Jose. So Jeff Suppan leading 1-0 in the 4th. Two balls, no strikes. That's in there. 2-1. And ball 3. Looking at Suppan's numbers, he has been fighting it. 55 strikeouts, but 41 walks. With an earned run average of over 5.5. And he walks Cruz. That would be the second walk plus a hit batter. And that'll bring up Nomar. Garciaparra last night had about as tough a night as he's had, I'm sure, in a long and great career. But last night went 0 for 4, failed to advance runners, and he had them on base in every at-bat, and grounded into 2 double plays as well. So he had a bad trip, hitting 172. That knocked his average down to 338, a strike. Nomar, like the Dodgers, hoping to get well at home. He's been hitting .400 at Dodger Stadium all year. The team 10 games above .500 here. 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Nomar still the toughest man in the league to strike out. Garciaparra has 17 strikeouts, and he's had 340 plate appearances. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fastball, cracked bat, little ground ball to Eckstein to Miles, and he throws it away. So they get a force play on Cruz, but then Miles, trying to turn the double play, commits the throwing error. And Garciaparra, representing the tying run, goes to second base.
Batting next, left fielder Andre Ethier.
So that wasn't close to Albert Pujols. So the error charged to Aaron Miles, and we'll see if the Dodgers now can cash it in as Andre Ethier comes in. For Miles, that would be his 8th error of the year. So Andre trying to pick up Garciaparra. 1-0 Cardinals, bottom of the 4th. That's a strike. Suppan struck out Ethier in the first inning for the 1,000th strikeout in his career. Oh, 0-1. Fouled away. Ethier hitting .343, has a half a dozen home runs, and 34 runs batted in. Andre didn't get the headlines that Matt Kemp got, but Andre is still here and holding his own. Oh and 2. And gets him a second time. Big overhand breaking ball about 70 miles an hour. So the second time he has pitched Ethier with soft stuff, and the second time he has struck him out. The only 2 strikeouts that Suppan has. Big slow jug, as they used to call it. So the batter now will be Willie Ibar facing Jeff Suppan. I'm sure Jeff has a lot of relatives and friends, maybe fellas he went to school with at Crespi High. Change, wiggles in for a nice strike, 0-1. Suppan's father is a retired air traffic controller who in his retirement became a gourmet chef. So Suppan with 3 brothers and a sister. We told you the sister was a fine volleyball player. Say to Jeff, what do you like to do when you're not playing ball? He said, I love to mow lawns. He likes the smell of freshly cut grass. And it just seems to, well, make him very peaceful. Okay. 1-2 the count. Ibar trying to pick up his man Garcia Parra and get the Dodgers even. 2-2 the count. Suppan signed by the Red Sox, up and down with them, then with the Royals, and he spent about 5 years with Kansas City, then to the Pirates, then back to the Red Sox, and then for the last 3 years now, he's been a Cardinal. 2-2. Foul back. So 2 out, 1-0 St. Louis. The Dodgers had a tremendous trouble trying to get a base hit with runners in scoring position. That was one of the glaring faults of the last road trip. And here they are now with a runner at second, trying to get him home. They left a runner at second in the first inning. That's ball 3. 1 run, 3 hits for St. Louis, but the big hit, 1 swing of the bat by big Chris Duncan in left field. Chris made his dad awfully proud with that ball hit into the Cardinal bullpen. 3-2 to Willie Ibar. And a ground ball right where Pujols was stationed, and that's that. So the Dodgers still can't come up with a base hit with a runner in scoring position. They leave Garcia Parra, and at the end of 4, 1-0 St. Louis. Home run by Chris Duncan gives the Cardinals a run and a 1-0 lead. We go to the 5th inning. Aaron Miles, Jeff Suppan, and then David Eckstein. So Miles at 5'8", checks in the plate and takes ball 1. Aaron's father was a professional boxer who once sparred with George Foreman, and his dad became a microbiologist. That's right, 1-1. Miles, born in Pittsburgh, California, but raised in Antioch. It's about 80 miles west of Sacramento. 1-1 to Aaron Miles. Chokes up on the bat. High chopper to Ibar. Whoa. Boy, did he come down the line and make that close. So Ibar just did get Aaron Miles. 1 away.
Jeff Suppan.
And now Jeff Suppan coming up. Suppan grounded to short in the 3rd. Little cutter down and away, breaking ball that missed. 1 ball, no strikes. Two and 0. 1 out, 5th inning. 1-0 St. Louis. Remember, the Cardinals won 4 straight from the Dodgers in St. Louis, but there are a couple of tough games. 3-2 in 14 innings, 2-1 in 10. Even the shutout was up for grabs for a while. 1 runaway game. That's when they beat Penny and the Dodgers 11-3, but otherwise, the other 3 tough ball games. Of course, what is it they say? Closeness only counts in horseshoes. 3-1. Fly ball to right field, not hit hard. Cruz on the dead run, can't get it in foul ground. A trio of Dodgers, Cruz, Ibar, and Garcia-Parra. So 3-2 the count. The Giants leading the Padres now 7-0 in the 5th inning. Ray Durham tripled in 2. So the Giants scored 9 to beat the Padres last night, and they've got them pinned to the mat 7-0 tonight. So if the Giants win, they'll be a half a game out of first place. 3-2. Look out. And the fastball hit Suppan. Last thing Penny wants to do. Of course, Suppan nailed J.D. Drew in the first inning, but there's no way that's any retaliation. So Suppan nailed on a 3-2 pitch. And the batter will be David Eckstein. So Suppan at the other end of a hit batter. His manager being reassured he's okay. Dave McKay standing there checking in with him as well. And now Garcia-Parra, no doubt needling him a little bit. Nomar reminding him he was nailed 3 times in 1 game this year. So, hey, welcome to the club. Must have thought you're a pretty good hitter. And Nomar is going to stay behind the pitcher. They don't expect him, and he takes advantage. They play hit and run. And it's fouled off by Eckstein. So you have a contact hitter, that's for sure, in Eckstein. Jose Aquindo in the third base coaching box. We'll see if he hangs something out again. Eckstein has had 400 plate appearances, and he's only struck out 33 times. So good man if you want to play hit and run. Not this time, and he fouls it off, 0-2. 2 years ago, you know how the Topps baseball cards are issued? Well, 2 years ago, they issued a card on David Eckstein. He was with the Angels at the time, had all of his numbers correct. But on the card was the picture of second baseman Adam Kennedy. Hard ground ball, backhanded by Ibar to his shortstop for call, and the Dodgers turn the double play. So Penny gets out of it, a 1-2-3 inning as he hollers something over to Willie Ibar. And at the end of 4 1/2, 1-0 St. Louis. 1-0 Cardinals, a home run by Chris Duncan. The Dodger offense tonight with 1 hit, a single by Kenny Lofton. The Dodgers have had 2 men get to second base, and it was 1 man moved up to second because the batter back of him was hit by a pitch. And the other time the Dodgers got a man to second only because of a rare Cardinal error. The throwing error charged Aaron Miles. So for Grady Little, his offense non-existent on the road trip and hasn't been heard from yet tonight. That error, by the way, by Aaron Miles, that broke a string. Cardinals had gone 10 games in a row without an error. Back in 1992, Cardinals had a 16-game stretch without an error. The record, the Red Sox, 17. Ground ball to Eckstein. Get up! Little high throw, 1 away. Say, friends, a week from tonight, the Dodgers and the Washington Nationals at 7:40. The first 50,000 fans in attendance receive a Steve Garvey bobblehead, compliments of Century 21 Real Estate. So get your tickets, visit Dodgers.com or call 866-DODGERS. Russell Martin has done a wonderful job, not only behind the plate. He has been a consistent hitter. And Martin has been a very good guy to come up there and try and get a run home with less than 2 out. He's probably the best in that department on the Dodgers so far. Ball 1. With runners in scoring position and less than 2 outs, Martin has had 15 opportunities and knocked in 14 of the 15. Ball 2. The youngsters are here. Bless them. Boys and girls together. Hope you'll spend a little time with us, maybe tomorrow night and or Sunday. Then the Padres here, followed by the Washington Nationals. Ground ball, base hit up the middle. So Russell Martin, a 1-out single to center, and the batter will be Brad Penny. So Martin, who is playing, biting on the bullet, his right wrist is sore, but he doesn't want to come out of the lineup. Held on by Pujols, and here's Penny. Brad hitting .225, grounded to third in the 3rd inning. He's had some good swings this year, showing bunt. Rafael Furcal on deck. The bunt foul. Brad, when asked to bunt this year, has 3. Derek Lowe and Aaron Seeley have a half a dozen, and Brett Tomko 5. So Lowe has done a very good job getting the bunt down. 0-1 the count. Martin off the bag. He's swinging on a hit and run play and fouled it off. So they took the bunt off. Martin was going, and he fouled it away. 0-2 the count. So Rich Donnelly, we'll see if there's another play in the works. Tough to put a play on 2 strikes, especially with a pitcher. And he hits a bullet, grabbed by Rowland. Is it an out? He's not sure. Now he gets the sign and throws to first for the double play. It was hit so hard we had to wait for the umpires, Bill Miller and Brian Gorman, as to whether he caught it or trapped it, and he caught it. He looked saying, well, wait a minute, you want me to go to second for a double play? No. Thank you very much. I'll throw to first. And it's 1-0 Cardinals. Pee-wee Reese wore number 1, had his number retired. The captain, one of the most respected players I think I've ever met. Teammates idolized him. And we go to the 6th, 1-0 Cardinals. It'll be Chris Duncan who hit that monstrous home run 431 feet into the back of the Cardinal bullpen to account for the only run. Yeah, he's hit 6 and his dad hit 109. Off speed strike, 0-1 the count. With Chris Duncan prospering in the outfield, one of the top candidates for the Cardinals was a fellow named John Gall, G-A-L-L. They really thought he was going to be a pretty good player. And Gall, no matter how hard he tried, is just a frustrating experience. Gall went to Stanford, was up and down in the Cardinal organization, and finally, John Gall has decided to play in Korea. So Chris Duncan has taken over out there. 2-2. His dad, Dave Duncan, who is the pitching coach for the Cardinals, his father was a catcher. And not only was he catcher, he was at the other end of some great pitching. He caught 4 Cy Young Award winners. His father, Dave, caught with Kansas City and Oakland, the Indians, and the Orioles. And Dave caught Vida Blue, Catfish Hunter, Gaylord Perry, Jim Palmer. He also handled Rollie Fingers and Kenny Holtzman. All 3. Dave Duncan out of Dallas, Texas. Dave's 6'2" and 220, so that's where Chris gets his height. Dave is 61 come September. So 3-2 to his son, Chris. Very high. So Duncan draws a walk. Let's take a look ahead now to see what's on the tube. Padres will be here. The Cardinals will be here Saturday and Sunday, and the Cardinal games on the weekend will be on KCAL 9 Saturday and Sunday. The Padres 3 in a row on FSN Prime Ticket. And then next Friday, Washington Friday night, Big Fox Saturday afternoon, and then FSN Prime Ticket on Sunday. So here's the man, Albert Pujols. Strike. Robbed of a hit on a slow roller to third to his tourist and hit a tricky line drive. Went this way, then the other, and Lofton stayed with it and caught it. 9-game hitting streak to Albert. It seems only right and proper that when Pujols is playing, they call him the man. After all, for a wonderful length of time in St. Louis, they had the man, Stan Musial. 1-1 to Albert. Foul ball out of play. When you look at the first 2 years that Albert Pujols has had, I mean, those first 2 years compare favorably with at least 10 Hall of Famers. That's his first 2. The last 3 years, he's hit more than 40 home runs each year. He's had over 100 RBIs every year. He's the first player to lead the major leagues in runs scored 3 straight since Pete Rose. So he is a remarkable player. He is 6'3", 225 pounds, and only 26. Born in Santo Domingo. Foul back. Pujols grew up in the Dominican, the youngest of 11 children. No mom. His dad gone for long periods of time to work, so his grandmother and grandfather did the job of raising him. His dad was a pitcher in the Dominican. Fastball, a cracked bat, and don't you know, he's strong enough to hit it into left field for a base hit. Albert going halfway to second and then realizes Duncan is ahead of him. So you could hear that bat crack, but he is so strong. Sound like a celery stalk, but he's still able to muscle it over the leaping Historis. So 2 on, nobody out. Brad Penny in trouble. And the batter now will be Scott Rowland. Rowland had a pop fly single in the second inning, fly to center in the fourth. and hits a fly ball to Lofton. Tagging is Duncan and Pujols, and Duncan is going to come over. The throw is cut off, and the tag not in time to get Pujols. So the Cardinals running on Lofton, and for Grady Little, about all he can do is bite his lip. We weren't too surprised to see Duncan tag. The throw for Call had to go up and get it, but Pujols was able to beat the cutoff. And now Grady Little going out to talk to Brad Penny. So Rolen gets a fly ball and advances runners to second and third. So the Cardinals execute wonderfully well. And now you have Edmonds, a left-hand hitter, Encarnacion, a right-hand hitter, and we'll see the decision. As far as walks, Penny has walked 2 and hit a batter. So Albert Pujols, a crack bat single after the walk to Duncan, and then heads up base running on the fly ball to center.
Center fielder, Jim Edmonds.
Now, Jim Edmonds struck out and singled, and we'll see what they do with the left-hand batter. Remember, 1 out on the fly ball. First base open. Look at the pass. Well, they're going to take the bat right out of Edmonds' hands. They'll put him aboard. No true surprise. The report on J.D. Drew, a contusion of the right knee, where he was hit by the pitch in the first inning by Jeff Suppan. Grady lost his right fielder. Now in trouble in a moment. Bases loaded, 1 out, and Juan Encarnacion will be coming up. Encarnacion, waiting on deck, is 0 for 1. 1 for 11 against Penny, but the 1 was a home run.
Batting next, right fielder, Juan Encarnacion.
So Encarnacion facing Brad Penny with the bases loaded. And of course, for Penny, a lot of pressure. He's been watching the Dodger offense dwindle on the road. He knows he can't afford to give up many, and here is Encarnacion. Albert Pujols in the middle of everything with Duncan at third and Edmonds at first, and that's a strike to Encarnacion. Juan had one big year where he just missed driving in 100 runs. That was for the Marlins a few years ago. That was also the year where he hit 19 home runs. He hit as many as 24 4 years ago. And he has 3 grand slams. One ball and 1 strike. Fouled away down the line, 1 and 2. Encarnacion struck out a little more than 100 times last year. He has struck out 50 times this year. So Brad Penny trying to put him away, but it's interesting to point out that Penny's only had 2 strikeouts. Whoa, almost to the backstop. Great save by Russell Martin. Penny has 3 wild pitches. The great reaction. Nice play by Russell, 2 and 2. Penny laboring in the inning now. This pitch will be number 23 in the inning. 1-0 Cardinals, trying to fly away with this thing here in the 6th. 2 and 2. Fastball hit into right field. Base hit. Duncan will score, and that's it. They'll go station to station. So a single by Juan Encarnacion to drive in a run. Scoring is Duncan. Cardinals now lead 2-0. The bases remain loaded, and Yadier Molina will be coming up. So a clutch base hit by Encarnacion. Edmonds takes second, Pujols to third. And for one reason to smile after Dave McKay said something to him. We mentioned earlier about Encarnacion and Perez being close buddies. They met at kindergarten and grew up close ever since. Jonathan Broxton gets up in the Dodger bullpen. That's ball one to Molina, who hit into a force play, grounded out. So Big John getting ready. It'll be the top of the Dodger order in the sixth inning for Call, Lofton, and Cruz. J.D. Drew, with the contusion of the right knee, is listed day to day. Molina hitting only .219. He has 3 home runs, 34 runs batted in. Never had a grand slam, in case you wonder. 1 ball, no strikes. Good breaking ball, dropped in nicely. Benny not putting hitters away. And of course, any time and every time they hit the ball, all kinds of things can happen. Two and one. Penny's high in strikeouts. You go back to the very first game he pitched this year against Atlanta. He struck out 8. 5 years ago, he struck out 13 against Montreal. 2-1. And a one-hopper to short for Call. Underhand sky bar, easy double play. However, the Cardinals get a run, and as Penny walks off, the Cardinals leading 2-0, and for Call, Lofton, and Cruz coming up. Bottom of the sixth inning, the Cardinals leading the Dodgers 2-0. 2 runs, 5 hits. The Dodgers, a single to Kenny Lofton and a single by Russell Martin, and that's it. So Suppan very much on the beam, and here's for Call. Ball 1. Rafael robbed of a hit on a diving catch by Juan Encarnacion and then walked in the third inning. Ball 2. Rafael batting .266, 4 home runs, 30 runs batted in, and has had some success against the Cardinals. Two and 0. That's a strike. 2-1. Rafael with 43 walks, just trying to wheedle his way on. And ball 3. J.D. Drew leads the team in walks with 45. 3-1 to Rafael. And he swings and bangs it. Base hit. So for Call on a 3-1 fastball, singles to center. And the batter would be Kenny Lofton. Well, the Dodgers only their 3rd hit. Dodgers have managed to get a couple of men to second base, but that's it. They have not gotten a man to third. And we'll see if they try to run their way around now with for Call at first and Lofton at the plate. Rafael talking to Pujols for the moment. Rafael has stolen 23 out of 31. That's ball 1 to Kenny Lofton. Pujols is off the bag. In other words, he doesn't hold the corner. Ground ball to short. Eckstein will make the double play. So the Dodgers ground into their 2nd double play. They hit into 4 double plays last night in Arizona. And once again, they are stifled here in the 6th inning. Got to be tough on a manager. I mean, he can't hit, he can't pitch. All he can do is play him and watch him. The DP 6-3. And now here's Jose Cruz. J.D. Drew started the game. He was hit on the knee and had to leave. Cruz walked in his at-bat. Off speed and high. Ball one. 1-0. And promptly lined into right field, base hit. Encarnacion was deep and had to come over to cut it off. And Cruz into second base, standing with a double. But it really frustrates the Dodgers because the double comes on the heels of the double play.
First baseman, Nomar Garciaparra.
So Kenny Lofton grounds into the double play. Cruz double. And here's Nomar. And Nomar's struggling. We told you he had a rough night in Arizona. And tonight he came up with two men on and flied to right. Hit into a force play in the fourth inning. And once again, the Dodgers have a runner in scoring position, and they've come up empty each time. 2-0 St. Louis. Ball one. Dodgers had Lofton get to second in the first inning. Garciaparra reached second on the throwing error by Miles in the fourth. And now with two out, they have Cruz at second, and that's been it. Nomar hitting .337. 2-0. Trying to get a moment in time and freeze it. There's Garciaparra knows fastball, curveball, changeup, and a cutter. That's what you get from Suppan. And that's high, ball three. On deck, Andre Ethier. Andre has struck out twice tonight. Well, Nomar has 12 home runs. See if they'll let him rip 3-0. Now, ball four. So you get the feeling that Suppan would pitch around Garciaparra and go after the kid. Meanwhile, Tony La Russa in the dugout, always busy. And Yadier Molina out to talk to Suppan. Now, Suppan has gotten Ethier out on slow stuff, slow breaking balls. In fact, they talk about Suppan throwing a Foch changeup. And he has gotten Ethier on slow curves and that off-speed pitch. So now Cruz at second, Garciaparra at first, two out. And here is Andre hitting .342. And it'll be interesting to see now how Suppan pitches him. Breaking ball and first ball hitting. And boy, that has really hurt the Dodgers because they've been struggling. So down goes Ethier, sitting down in frustration goes Grady Little. And at the end of 6, Cardinals 2, Dodgers nothing. To lead it off and promptly bangs it into right field, base hit. Cruz over to get it, and Aaron will hold with a leadoff single to right. Don't forget, tomorrow the Dodgers and Cardinals at 7:10. Kids 14 and under in attendance receive a free ticket to Universal Studios Hollywood, compliments of Holiday Inn, to see the new The Fast and the Furious Extreme Close-Up. They'll get your tickets. Call 866-DODGERS or visit Dodgers.com. So now Suppan up there apparently to bunt and gets it down. Penny looks at second and then goes to first. So Aaron Miles at second. Suppan does his job, moves his man along. For Jeff, that would be his fourth sacrifice this year. Little things mean a lot, and I'm sure when you play for La Russa especially, you are called upon to do the little things. Oh, sure, they got a home run from Chris Duncan, but a key in this sixth inning, remember, was the fly ball to center, and both runners tagged up and advanced. Chopper to third, a look by Asturias, and the out at first. So 2 down, and Chris Duncan will be coming up. Chris Duncan, in a scoreless ball game, led off the fourth inning with a smash deep into the Cardinal bullpen, a breaking ball, and they say it traveled 431 feet. So Chris makes the trip, and now let's see, talking about a trip, Grady Little going out. You have Duncan followed by Pujols. Joe Beimel and Jonathan Broxton in the pen. Penny has worked hard. I think he's over 100 pitches. 103, and that's going to be enough. And they will bring in the left-hander Beimel to face Duncan if Duncan gets a chance to play. So after 103 pitches, they hook Penny. His most pitches in any game this year, I believe, was 117. That's right, and that was back early in June. So we'll be back. With the Cardinals leading 2-0, they have a runner in scoring position, Aaron Miles, and Joe Beimel facing Chris Duncan. And that's a strike. Dodger pen has been very effective. For instance, Joe Beimel has inherited 20 runners, and he's allowed 5 to score. Saito, 17 runners, 5 score. Broxton, 4 of 15 to score. So you put the Dodger bullpen together. This would be the 56th inherited runner. And it makes Rick Honeycutt proud that they only allowed 14 of them to score. Duncan has struck out, homered, walked, and scored. Way out in front of that. 1 and 2. So Chris Duncan. Meanwhile, Brad Penny back in the dugout talking to Derek Lowe. Kobe Hall in between. Breaking ball, check swing, no swing, says Bill Miller. 2 and 2. Nothing Cardinals. Miles at second, 2 out, top of the 7th. And another breaking ball. 3 and 2 the count. Well, if you're 21 years old and you're in the bullpen looking out at Joe Beimel, you got to believe if Joe doesn't get Chris Duncan, they're going to call me in to pitch to Albert Pujols. That would be the thoughts of Jonathan Broxton. Fastball line to left. Ethier. The Broxton doesn't have to worry right now. Joe keeps Miles from scoring, and Penny allows 2 runs, makes 103 pitches. He's done with the game, and the Cardinals lead 2-0. With us maybe tomorrow night, and bring your best boys. Willie Ibar takes a strike. He'll be followed by Asturias and Martin. One ball and 1 strike. In left field, Chris Duncan comes out. So Taguchi takes over out there. We can also tell you the Giants have pounded the Padres again. They just beat them 8-2. Ground ball to Pujols. 1 away. And the batter will be Asturias.
Third baseman, Cesar Asturias.
Albert Pujols over there at first base has committed only 3 errors. So he's found a home at first. Nomar Garcia Parra has only one error. So one away, and here is his tourist. Fly to left, grounded to short. Ball one. For Brad Penny, he went 6 2/3, allowed 2 runs and 6 hits, walked 3, one of them intentional, struck out 2, hit a batter, and allowed the home run to Chris Duncan. 1 ball and 1 strike. That's a strike. I'm not sure if his tourist was asking for time. See him saying timeout, but it wasn't granted, and it was a strike. And Cesar is saying to Eric Cooper, hey, why didn't you give me the time I requested? Popped up in foul ground, Scott Rowland. So 2 down here in the 7th inning. And the batter will be Russell Martin. You know, the Dodgers host the Washington Nationals Saturday the 29th at 1:10. The first 45,000 fans in attendance receive free lip gloss, compliments of Smashbox Beauty Cosmetics. So get your tickets, visit Dodgers.com or call 866-DODGERS. Russell Martin hit back to the box and singled. Coming out on deck, Ricky Leday. Remember, Albert Pujols leads off the 8th inning. So whether Leday bats for Beimel or not, it could be they'll lift Joe. 1-0. Strike. Just to check, Beimel going up against Pujols. Pujols hitting .385 against him. For Broxton, Pujols is 0 for 3 and has struck out twice. 2-1 to Russell Martin. Cardinals got a home run from Chris Duncan in the 4th. Got a key base hit by Encarnacion to drive in a run in the 6th. And that's it. Foul back. Adam Wainwright begins to throw back of right-hander Jeff Suppan. So Wainwright pinwheeling the arm around, and he's now throwing. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Cardinals beat the Dodgers 5 out of 7 last year, trying to beat them 5 straight this year. 3-2 the count. So Martin, who is 1 for 2, with Leday on deck. Suppan has not had a lengthy inning. Most pitches in any one inning. Back in the 4th, he made 18. He's had a 9. He's had a 10. He's had 2-13. So he has not labored at all. Counting 11 pitches tonight, he has made 88. In looking at Suppan, he had made 18 starts, but only pitched 102 innings. So that's not 6 innings an average. So he came in 6 and 5, but he has pitched exceptionally well, shutting down the Dodgers. Foul back. Of course, you always get to the big question when you have a guy like a Suppan, 6 and 5, earned run average 5.5, and he's pitching a shutout. And you say, is he having such a good night, or is the Dodger offense having such a bad night? Take your pick. Fouled away. Remember, in those 4 games in St. Louis, the Dodgers scored a total of 6 runs. The Padres once had a 4-game series against the Cardinals and scored only 5. That was back in 1989. 3-2. Line down the left field line. Fair ball. Taguchi over to get it. Martin on his way to second and holding up with a double, and he's 2 for 3, and that'll bring up Ricky Leday. So the Dodgers with 5 hits. They have 2 doubles and 3 singles. And now timeout for the moment as Dave Duncan going out to talk to Suppan. Dodgers had Lofton at second in the first inning, and they left him. Garcia Parra at second in the fourth, left him. Cruz at second in the sixth, he stayed. And now Martin. Frustrating for the Dodgers, the double play ball. They've grounded into 2, and the struggle continues. Meanwhile, Ibar and his tourists, they are 0 for 6 between them. So it's a tough night all around. And here's Ricky Leday, who missed 60-some-odd games due to a torn groin. Ricky hitting .243. Coming off the bench, he has 4 hits, 2 runs batted in. So Joe Beimel did his job, came in and got Duncan and left Miles at second, and now here's Ricky. Ball 1. Leday was heartbroken when he suffered the groin injury because he had worked really hard to be in shape to have a good year. He was activated the 14th of July, and he missed 64 games. And ball 2. So 2-0 to Ricky Leday. 2 down, bottom of the 7th, 2-0 Cardinals. Russell Martin at second base. Leday trying to pick him up. Foul back. Two and 1 to count to Ricky. He had an injured groin in Leday back in '97. Meanwhile, Jeff Suppan leading 2-0 here in the bottom half. Ricky will be 33 in November. He's from Puerto Rico and originally signed by the Yankees when he was 16. Little roller to Aaron Miles. That's that. So the Dodgers fail again with a runner in scoring position, and at the end it's 7. It remains 2-0 St. Louis as Broxton gets ready for Pujols. Cardinals leading the Dodgers 2-0 as we go to the 8th inning, and Albert Pujols will start things off against Jonathan Broxton. Young Jonathan has held his own against Pujols. Albert is 0 for 3, and he has struck out 2 of the 3 times. You know, I don't know if you were with us early in the game. We were talking about Clemente asking Manny Mota to hit balls in the corner of Forbes Field so he could really master that corner. Albert Pujols is a remarkable young player. He is 26 years old. He's already won a batting crown. People are thinking of him as a triple crown man. And yet, Pujols told Mariano Duncan, when Duncan and Albert were in conversation, he said, "I'm not going to be satisfied until I'm the best player in the game." 1 ball, no strikes. Well, who's better right now? I mean, you might say in the American League, well, Vladimir Guerrero is good, but Guerrero doesn't have anything like the numbers that this fella has with his discipline in his first 5 years. He's just unbelievable. Look at that. Who in the world is better? Ball 2, 2-1. So some of them, even superbly gifted, have the fire in the belly, and he's one of them. Albert, 6'3", 225. You know who must be really terribly unhappy? The Boston Red Sox. That's a strike. Boston could have drafted him in 1999, but instead they had first-round picks, and they picked Rick Asadurian, Brad Baker, and you may remember Cassie Fossen, and that's it. But they let Pujols get away. 2-2. And that's going to be hit into right center for a base hit. Over to get it is Lofton, bobbles it. Pujols shifts into gear and moves into second. So Pujols singles to right center and advances to second on the bobble from Kenny Lofton. And I'll tell you, Lofton, you can understand. Kenny is still thinking about those runners tagging up at first and second and moving to second and third. And remember, it was Pujols who went to second on the fly ball. I mean, it was one thing for Duncan to go to third, but for Pujols to go to second on a fly ball to medium center, I guarantee you Lofton was thinking about that, and because of that, bobbled the ball, and Pujols winds up at second anyway, and Kenny gets an error. So now Rolen, Edmonds, and Encarnacion trying to pick him up. Chopper to short. Pujols going to third. Furcal takes a look and then goes to first. So one out. Pujols is now at third, and the batter will be Jim Edmonds. So Rolen getting fives, moving his man over. The paid attendance tonight, just coming in, 47,987. 47,987. The Dodgers averaging better than 45,000 a game. And we sure hope he'll be out here tomorrow night. Looks like Jeff Weaver will go against Aaron Seeley in game 2. Dodger infield has to play up as Pujols walks down the line from third. And Edmonds struck out, singled, and walked at the plate. Ball 1. Edmonds has faced Broxton twice in the past and walked each time. 2 runs, 7 hits for St. Louis. No runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. In there nicely, 1-1. Dodgers 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. Pujols has reached third twice tonight, but has failed to score. That's a strike, 1-2. By the way, the Giants made a deal. We just get the report. The Giants have picked up Shea Hillenbrand to play third base. 2-2. Hillenbrand can play first and third. Pedro Feliz plays third. So the word coming out of San Francisco, it looks like they will move Shea Hillenbrand to play first. They've had trouble at that spot with Lance Niekro and a couple of other fellas. So Shea Hillenbrand leaves Toronto under a heavy cloud and goes to San Francisco as Edmonds is caught looking. Big pitch by Jonathan Broxton. Fastball right down good part of the plate. Jim angry at himself for taking it. So 2 out. And now here's Encarnacion. Hit into a force play, walk, single to right. That single to right was a big one to drive in a run. So Albert at third, nodding, I'm sure, Oquendo, saying be ready to go if a pitch gets away. With a runner at third, as we always do, we look and see that Jonathan Broxton has 3 wild pitches. 0-1. So Pujols a base hit, and then Rolen the ground ball to short. So had Lofton not been hurrying on the base hit, Cardinals would have probably a runner at first and 2 out. In the dirt, nice block by Russell Martin. That saved the run. 1-1. Boy, day in and day out, inning in and inning out. What a job Russell Martin has turned in. Tough pitch to handle, hit the plate, and he was able to block it. He is a fine young ball player. 1-1 to Encarnacion, hitting .279, 50 RBIs. And that's lifted to left field. Andre Ethier. All right, Pujols singles. Kenny Lofton out from under the pressure when they lead Pujols to third. And at the end of 7½, 2-0 St. Louis. Of the 8th inning with the Cardinals holding on to a 2-0 lead. And they now left Jeff Suppan, who went 7, allowed 5 hits and no runs. And they give the ball to Adam Wainwright with a fine ERA of 2.5. Adam is a big fella. He is 6'6", 200 pounds, out of Brunswick, Georgia, and lives in St. Simons, Georgia. That's a strike to Furcal. Rafael lost a hit on a diving catch by Encarnacion, walked and singled. Though he's 1 for 2, rolling in on the grass. Foul back, 0-2. So Furcal trying to light a fire, trying to get something going. Dodgers 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position, and that's plagued them ever since the All-Star break. 0-2. Ball 1. Wainwright, a great athlete, they tell me, in high school. He was an all-state kicker. He was a wide receiver. He played basketball with the NBA #1 pick, Kwame Brown. 1-2. Fastball hit over the glove of Eckstein for a base hit. So a modest thing and thine own, but Furcal will take it, clearing the glove of 5'8" Eckstein. And the batter will be Kenny Lofton. Dodgers have gotten the leadoff man on base 3 times in 8 innings. They had Cruz get aboard leading the 4th. Furcal led off the 6th with a single, and now Furcal a base hit in the 8th. Lofton is 1 for 3. Good breaking ball. Kenny flinched and had to take it. 0-1. He's not too happy about the call. 0-1 to count. Going up against Wainwright, you'll get a fastball, maybe in the low 90s. A changeup, which is his out pitch. He has that curveball he just gave Lofton. He has a slider, but it's the changeup that has done a great deal of work for him. 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kenny batting .299, 20 runs batted in. You know, it has to be a little discouraging. Well, they finally changed it. Lofton was at the plate, and they had 1 out on the scoreboard, but they just took it down on that last pitch. Okay. Now we're clear. In the dirt, 2-2 at that overhand curveball. So Molina doing a good job, just as Russell Martin has been doing in blocking pitches in the dirt. So Adam Wainwright. As a kid growing up in Georgia, he always wore number 3. That was Dale Murphy's number. And if you were in Georgia, you had to idolize Murph. In fact, he got a jersey with Murphy's 3 on it when he was 3 years old. He said he just wore it all the time until he was busting out of it. Well, Molina talking to Adam Wainwright. The Cardinals sent J.D. Drew to the Braves, acquiring Wainwright. Actually, Drew and Marrero. And the Cardinals got Wainwright, Jason Marquise, and left-hand pitcher Ray King. Three and two. Furcal goes. Missed at the plate, and he is safe at second. So the Dodgers dodge a bullet there as Lofton strikes out, and Raphael winds up with his 24th stolen base. Good throw by Molina, right on the money, but Furcal just in there ahead of it. So again, the Dodgers are facing the challenge of how in the world do you come up with a base hit with a runner in scoring position. It is the 5th time tonight they've had a hitter with the opportunity. Cruz doubled in the 6th inning. With a left-hand hitter up there, David Eckstein can not only fill up the middle, he can take a couple of steps away from Raphael Furcal. You don't have to even think about Aaron Miles. He's 3 feet out on the grass in right field. So it's up to Eckstein. 0-1. And David's a pretty good terrier down there, nipping at the heels of Furcal. 2-0 Cardinals, bottom of the 8th. Fastball, a strike. So after so many big, slow curveballs, change-ups, he hits 94 on the gun with a fastball, and he's ahead 0-2. Eckstein shadowing Furcal. There's that breaking ball, big overhand 12-6 curve, as they call it. 1 ball and 2 strikes. One of the things Wainwright talked about, he said, when I was learning to pitch, I was always pitching away from contact. Pitch that way, you might last a couple of innings. He's learned to trust his stuff more, keep the ball down, throw strikes, and it's been successful. 1-2. Another big overhand curveball, and Cruz bites the dust. So 1 minute, the Dodgers have a leadoff man aboard. Lofton and Cruz strike out, and it's up to Nomar. Don't forget, Wednesday, the Dodgers host the Padres, a midweek day game. Wednesday is also a Coca-Cola family pack game. Get 4 tickets, 4 Dodger dogs, 4 Cokes for $52, and you save 38%. So visit Dodgers.com or call 866-DODGERS, and we'll see you Wednesday. 47,987 taking in the action tonight. And here is Nomar, 0 for 2 with a walk. Fastball hit down to short. Eckstein to Pujols. So the Dodgers get 2 more chances. They are 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. And at the end of 8, 2-0 St. Louis. Dodgers bring in Danny Baez. He's their fourth pitcher, with the Cardinals leading 2-0. Brad Penny started, allowed 2 runs, a home run by Chris Duncan in the 4th inning, and a bases-loaded single to Juan Encarnacion drive in the other run. And then after Brad, it was Joe Beimel to get the 3rd out, Broxton an inning, and now Baez. And he'll be facing Molina, Miles, and Wainwright's spot. The closer, Jason Isringhausen, is loosening up in the Cardinal bullpen. We mentioned earlier the Giants beat San Diego 8-2. Isringhausen getting ready. He's the big guy. He has 26 saves. Fouled away, 0-2. Giants beat San Diego. Cincinnati lost or losing to Milwaukee. If Cincinnati loses and the Cardinals win, they'll have a comfortable 5-game lead. Off speed, fouled away. Arizona defeated Colorado. So Arizona is 1 game back of San Diego. The Giants are a half a game back. D-backs beat the Rockies 6-2. And that will do it for Molina. 1 away. So Baez now facing Aaron Miles.
Second baseman, Aaron Miles.
Miles grounded out twice, single to right. Aaron 1 for 3, hitting .261. By the way, if you're not keeping score and you wonder about the Dodgers in the 9th inning, they are due to send up Ethier, Ibar, and Izturis. In looking at Isringhausen, Ethier 0 for 1. Ibar never faced him. Izturis 1 for 3. And in the Dodger dugout, they have Olmedo Signs, Ramon Martinez, and the 2 catchers, Alomar and Hall. Signs against Isringhausen, 0 for 2. So the Dodgers don't get any encouragement for looking ahead as far as pinch hitters, and they're down 2-0, top of the 9th. Curveball slowly hit to Garcia Parra, feeding Baez, too late. So Aaron Miles, were you with us on the ground ball he hit in the 5th inning? Just a routine ground ball. And I mean, it was bang, bang when Ibar took a little time. Well, this time Miles beats the play. It'll be an infield single, and the batter will be John Rodriguez. So Rodriguez will get a chance to swing the bat, and then they'll bring in Isringhausen. JJ, as they call him, is from Manhattan, originally signed by the Yankees, left-handed all the way. He was such a big Yankee fan as a kid. He said he went to about 50 games a year. And he finally, through a friend, got a tryout at Yankee Stadium with about 100 others. They didn't sign him. But he played in a Puerto Rican summer league in the Bronx. He was spotted there, and they picked him up. And he's done pretty well last year and a half with the Cardinals. A shot at first by Martin, but Miles is back. Good screen provided by left-handed batter. Rodriguez, 6-footer, 200-pounder, 28 years old. He's got a busy bat. Oh, and 2. JJ hitting .308. He has 2 home runs, 16 RBIs, and Baez trying to put him away. Cardinals 2, Dodgers nothing, top of the 9th. And that didn't take long. Baez went after him with hard stuff and puts him away. So Danny with 2 strikeouts. And now the leadoff man, David Eckstein.
Shortstop, David Eckstein.
Eckstein flied to right, grounded to short, hit into a double play, and grounded out in the 7th inning. So 0 for 4, but still a 300 hitter. Miles at first has shown that he'll hustle on a slow ground ball. He is not a very busy base stealer, hitting 8th with the pitcher following. You don't usually do much running. He's stolen 2 out of 3. That's a strike. So the 2 smaller men who do such a big job for the Cardinals, Miles the runner and Eckstein the batter, 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. To repeat, Ethier, Ibar, and Isturis due up against Jason Isringhausen in the 9th. Andre 0 for 3, Ibar 0 for 3, Isturis 0 for 3. So 0 for 9 amongst them. Hit in the air to right, slicing. Cruz is there. Okay. So Baez gives up an infield single and nothing else. And now, as it has been all night long, it's up to the Dodger hitters. Cardinals 2, Dodgers nothing. Cardinals lead the Dodgers 2-0 in the 9th inning. And Jason Isringhausen coming out of the pen out of Brighton, Illinois, wearing double 4s for 2 reasons. He wears number 44 because the Mets drafted him in the 44th round out of Lewis and Clark Junior College. But he's also a sensitive guy. He wears 44 because it was his best friend's number, and his best friend had arm surgery and had to retire. So Izzy, as they call him, had Tommy John surgery back in 1998, and he has just been a marvelous pitcher. He's had as many as 47 saves for the Cardinals 2 years ago, and so they appreciate him enough. They have signed him through the 2007 season and the club option for 2008. 0-1 to Ethier. Isringhausen is 6'3" and 230 with 26 saves. He's in his 42nd game. He was in 75 games 2 years ago for the Cardinals. For the Dodgers, on the edge of losing 8 out of 9. But the Padres keep stumbling. So Grady Little's club will still be 3.5 back of the front-running Padres. A little chin music. 2-1 to count. Andre thinking over that pitch, which would make any man think it over. 2-1. And ball 3. When Isringhausen was in college at Lewis and Clark, he was mostly an outfielder, and he got a bonus of $7,000 from the Mets. Then they told him they'd use him as a pitcher. He had been a center fielder, a catcher, and a pitcher in high school. And ball 4. So hope burns eternal for the Dodgers as Ethier draws the walk. Dodgers have received 3 walks and a hit batter. And in looking at Isringhausen's number to see just how successful he is, he has been fighting his control. He has 42 strikeouts but 31 walks. And an earned run average over 3. Plus, he's in the red because he's won 3 and lost 4. So here's Ibar. change. Ball one. Olmedo Signs waiting in the dugout. So Jason taking a little breather. He had that Tommy John surgery in 1998, and he has fought his way back. Played a little bit in 99, then went to the A's, and then to the Cardinals. Fastball, a broken bat, a fly ball to shallow center, and Jim Edmonds makes the catch. So Ibar shatters his bat, and a fly ball to center, one down. And Olmedo Signs will come up now and bat for Cesar Izturis. You can certainly understand the thinking of Grady Little. He might get lucky with Signs, who has 2 pinch hit home runs and 8 for the year. Izturis doesn't figure to hit a home run. So Olmedo, if he gets lucky, he could tie up the game. Though Izturis just has to swallow his pride as he sits alongside a Furcal. And time now. Dave Duncan wants to make sure that Isringhausen is sure to pitch to Signs. The world knows that Olmedo Signs is very, very much of a fastball hitter. He is 0 for 2 in the past against Isringhausen, and one of the 2 at-bats he struck out. So Duncan just to advise, and now we'll find out about it. Isringhausen is basically a power pitcher with a fastball. With a left-hand hitter, he'll also have a pretty good cutter. He has what they call a spike curve. That's where you rest only the index finger on top of the ball with the joint pointing up. Fastball, ball one. You could also call it a knuckle curve. In fact, you may remember Bert Hooton with the Dodgers. He had that spike curve or knuckle curve. So you have a fastball, a cutter, the spike curve, and a changeup. He'll also throw 2 fastballs, 4-seamer and the 2. That's a 2-seamer, and he's behind 2-0. Signs looking for a fastball in the strike zone. 2-0 the count to Olmedo. Batting .301. 2-0. 2-1. Another fastball. Now, since you have Signs up there and the Dodgers are hoping he can hit one out, the next question is, how many home runs has Isringhausen allowed? And Izzy has allowed 7 home runs in 42 innings. 2-1. And got that corner. Olmedo, as usual, rarely says a word, rarely shows anything, displeasure or otherwise. 2 balls, 2 strikes. On deck, Russell Martin. Isringhausen, 34 in September. Off speed. Wow. The 3-2 the count. So he dropped down from 91 and 92 to 77. So, okay, here's the big guessing game. I mean, Signs is looking fastball 3-2, but he also represents a tying run. So what does that mean as far as Molina and Isringhausen calling the pitch? Fastball whacked right through Scott Rowland, going to second and holding his Ethier. So Olmedo Signs thinking 3-2 on the tying run. He's not going to risk walking me. I'm going to get a fastball. And he sat on it, jumped it, and it got away from Rowland. Ramon Martinez will now run for Olmedo Signs. And we're waiting for the scoring. Ball was hit hard, but it went right by Rick. Oh, it'll be an error charge to Scott Rowland. So Signs gets a hug from Nomar. And the Dodgers get a look at the game. 2 on, 1 out, and Russell Martin the batter. If Scott Rowland stays with that ground ball, it's a double play. So Martinez now running for Signs. And he represents a tying run. So Olmedo, a sharply hit ground ball kicked by Rowland. Remember, the Cardinals had gone 10 straight without an error. Miles committed one, and now Rowland. Ball 1. Martin 0 for 1 against Isringhausen in St. Louis. Breaking ball strike, 1-1. Sandy Alomar out on deck. 2 on, 1 out, 9th inning, 2-0 St. Louis. Ethier and Martinez out on the line. Fastball, 1-2. Jason hits 93 on the gun. Martin tonight has a single and a double. And remember, we gave you a little note earlier. With less than 2 out, Russell Martin has been amazing. He's had 15 opportunities to drive in a run, and he succeeded 14 out of 15. One ball and 2 strikes. Just off the plate. 2-2. That looked like a cutter, a fastball that just had a little late break to it. Ethier at second, Martinez the tying run at first, 1 out. Fast one fouled off. So the duel continues. Remember, he went 3-2 with Signs. And Olmedo got the fastball. Rowland couldn't handle it. Now 2-2 to Russell Martin. Got him. So again, a fastball with that little late dart to it. So down goes Martin. And the Dodgers down to their last out. Ball just seems to tail. You don't see it nearly as much looking down the barrel as you do sitting up here. So that's when they go after it and miss it, and Martin can take the witness stand and attest to the fact. So it's up to Alomar. Sandy appeared as a pinch hitter and hit a fly ball in Arizona. I believe he's had 2 at-bats in the month of July. So you talk about being rusty. Foul ball. So the Dodgers had to play Cruz when Drew was hurt. Then Leday hit for Beimel. Signs hit for Asturias. And Alomar now hitting for Baez. Ethier and Martinez out there. The Dodgers have been shut out 5 times this year, twice at home. 0-1. Fastball, but he missed. 1-1. Alomar has done a very good job this year. He's hitting .500 with runners in scoring position, 10 for 20. But as we said, he hadn't played at all off the plate. The Dodgers, when they acquired Toby Hall, that almost made Alomar a playing coach. The other night, he brought the lineup card up to home plate in Arizona. Foul back, 2-2. So the deuces, they are wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, 2-0. St. Louis. Giants beat the Padres again. Arizona beat Colorado. And the Dodgers spinning their wheels right now. Fouled away. Fastball down. So Jason Isringhausen, the 34, the 7th of September. Grew up a Cardinal fan, lives in Brighton, Illinois. Chris Duncan, who homered way back in the 4th inning, watching. Fastball on the hands. The bat goes all the way to the backstop, and the ball goes into the crowd and into the hands of a happy fan. So Rafael Furcal retrieves the wood, and it's still 2-2. Jason from little town Brighton. There's about 2,300 people there. No stoplights. How small the city is. All right, 2-2. And ball 3. So we want to talk now about push against shove. The runners will be in motion. 3-2, 2 out, 2-0 St. Louis. And the crowd on its feet. Three and 2 to Sandy. Runners go. Swung on and a fly ball to left field. Taguchi very deep, but he comes in now and puts it away. So Alomar just hit under it. The Dodgers leave 2, and the Cardinals have now beaten the Dodgers 5 straight. St. Louis 2 runs, 8 hits, 2 errors. The Dodgers no runs, 6 hits, 1 error. It was a tough inning for Izzy. He made 27 pitches and survived. The player of the game would be Jeff Suppan, the crowd of Crespi High and West Hills. Jeff going 7 scoreless innings. So Suppan is now 7-5, 3-3 against the Dodgers lifetime. He beat him twice without a loss last year. And for Suppan, he finally shakes the bad numbers. Remember, we told you at home his earned run average was 3. On the road, his earned run average was 9. Well, he put a dent in that tonight with 7 scoreless innings. For the Dodgers, another dismal offensive performance as they continue to fail to come up with a base hit with a runner in scoring position. And that has led them to losing 8 of their last 9. The Dodgers scored only 6 runs in 4 games in St. Louis, come home for zip. So they now have scored 6 runs in 5 games against the Cardinals. So they will put the crosshairs on Jeff Weaver tomorrow night against Aaron Seeley. Weaver, with a record of 0-1, and the former Dodger and Angel, will be on the mound to see if he can continue the Cardinals' mastery over the Dodgers. Remember, in the last 3 years, plus tonight, the Cardinals have beaten the Dodgers 14 out of 18, but they've not been runaway games. 2-1, 3-2, tonight 2-0. So once again, the final score, the Cardinals 2 and the Dodgers 0. A reminder, stay tuned for Dodgers Live, and it starts right now. Good night, everybody.
Out in center field, Jim Watson along with Kevin Kennedy. You just heard Vin Scully say it. Another dismal offensive performance by the Dodgers. What's the matter? Suppan was pretty good, though.
Well, I think you're facing some good pitching. That's what the matter is. And Suppan made great pitches when he had to tonight. You know, he's now 7 scoreless innings for him. The bullpen, Wainwright, is a guy that Tony La Russa and the Cardinals liked very much. They got him in a trade, ironically, for J.D. Drew from the Braves a few years ago. And, you know, they got Isringhausen, who can be a little nervous at times, but he's got such nasty stuff at the end there that's really what they're facing right now. They're facing a first-place ball club in the Central that many people picked to win the division in the Central and be the best team really in the National League. I'm talking about the St. Louis Cardinals.
We've been talking about Jeff Suppan. Of course, he comes from Crespi High School out in the Valley. He's standing by in front of the Cardinals dugout right now with our Brent Weber.
Thanks, guys. We were just talking about Crespi. He doesn't get to talk about that all that much anymore. Tonight, talking about an outstanding performance for you, and you've had 3 no decisions in the last 4 starts, pitched well against the Dodgers last week, but didn't get anything in the extra inning game. Nice to get the W and to shut down the team here in L.A.
Yeah, I think definitely a team effort tonight. I think with Rowan's play there, Albert had some tremendous plays, and that's what it takes. We're a team here, and we play hard all around, and it's nice to do it at home and in front of my family and friends, and my high school coach over there, Scott Muckey, standing over there, and he was behind home plate, and it was a nice win.
Well, your stuff seemed good. You kept them off, and again, defensively, the team does make 2 errors tonight, but in the end, you're comfortable in the driver's seat there with these guys behind you.
I failed to mention our bullpen. I think Adam and Izzy came in and shut the door right there, and definitely errors and walks, and that's all part of the game. And I think when you're able to minimize that and contribute offensively, I think that's the key.
1,000th career strikeout tonight. Did you know that?
I did actually know that. I don't strike out too many people, so to have 1,000 is definitely a milestone for me, and it was nice to do it here.
And I also was told I have to ask you about the Suppan restaurant in the Valley. Is this you have a business?
Yeah, it's Soup's Grill, and people keep giving me grief, especially to the guys. I keep saying coming soon, and people keep asking me what's soon mean, and it's taken a long time, but hopefully sometime this offseason we'll be able to open up.
Here's a guy that's a 33-year-old veteran pitcher. He's 31. Thanks, man. Don't want to do that, especially in the prime of his career. Pitching for the National League Central Division leaders at a time when really you're facing a team across the way that is really scuffling, really struggling, missing that big hit. You guys beat them up good last week. What's going on when you face a lineup that's struggling like that?
Well, you never take that approach. It's obviously, these guys we played them in the postseason, and they're a great team, and you go out, it's just a game, and you take the same approach every game, whether you're hot or not, and as a pitcher, trying to keep the ball down, change speeds, and work fast, that's an approach I've always taken, and going into any game, that's my approach.
Jeff Suppan gets the win tonight. Bullpen shuts it down for him here in the end, and he's very, very happy that he did it in front of his old home folks and his old high school coach. Guys, let's send it back out to you.